is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for you rascals and rapscallions out there. As you can tell from the title, tonight we are going to talk about Evil Dead Rise. Now, this is a film I've been very excited for ever since I heard the announcement of them putting it into production. I absolutely love the Evil Dead series. I'm from Michigan, so it's kind of a movie a lot of us Michiganders hold close to our heart. So a lot of mixed feelings from a lot of people going into this film, and I know I'm a little bit late to the party on the review, and I didn't even know if I should call it a review or just a discussion, because I didn't know where I was going to go with this. Either way, your boy's going to rant and ramble about this movie. So one more thing before I get into this. I found this movie was pretty much 50-50 with almost everybody I talked to about saying it sucked ass or it was really good. So I was very anxious to check it out and give my own opinion, and I really tried hard not to let other people's opinions kind of steer mine another way. And like I said, I watched this 3 days ago. I'm glad I waited until this point to talk about it, because this feels like a movie that's kind of got to linger on the mind, you know, at least to help for me. I had to kind of sleep on it to give my right opinion. But anyways, let's get right into it. This is the 5th installment of the Evil Dead series, if you do not count the TV show Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which is absolutely amazing. We have the original Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, the 2013 remake, and then 10 years later, out of the darkness comes Evil Dead Rise. Now, like I said, this was one I was very excited about when it first got announced. I was part of the joke saying, oh, so pretty much Demons Part 2. If you've never seen Demons 1 and 2, I suggest check that out. Very similar in plot, at least on paper, to Demons 2, where the demons get unleashed in a high-rise apartment building and whatnot. But with that being said, I love Demons 2, so I wasn't against it. So anyways, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy review, but I'm going to give a little plot synopsis first. So pretty much, we get introduced to two sisters from the beginning. One girl is like a sound person, like on the road for certain bands, on the road life, and it starts out with her like finding out she's pregnant in the bathroom, taking a pregnancy test. So this is a girl who does like roadie stuff, and when she finds out she's pregnant, she goes back to visit her sister, who has 3 young kids with her, 2 teenagers. The oldest is a young boy who's really into DJing and all this stuff in his bedroom, and then kind of like a hipster middle child who's just slightly younger than the oldest. And then the youngest, which is this little girl, very tiny little girl. And I don't know if it's a holiday or a birthday or whatnot, but the younger sister, I would imagine she's the younger sister, comes back to visit this mom in this rundown apartment complex, the one you've seen on all the posters. And she pretty much talks to her about everything, you know. I'm doing good in this review. She talks to her about everything. Pretty much a little bit of dialogue, getting to know the characters and whatnot, and we hit like our first benchmark. God damn it, this review blows. I'm not re-recording this. But pretty much the older sister tells her like she got divorced from her husband. The husband ran off and left. The building that they live in is about to be shut down, condemned or whatnot. And they have a month to get out, and they have nowhere to go. And she was calling her ahead of time, leaving messages, wanting to talk to her about like this breakup, like needing her sister. But the sister on the road was too busy, so you know she couldn't contact her back or listen to voicemail. So we get the younger sister feeling very bad. The older sister's kind of got a lot of stress on her, and we got these kids kind of living it up, being basic teenagers and whatnot. And as the kids leave to go get pizza, which is the time that the older sister tells the younger sister about all this shit, they come back and a big earthquake starts. Which I mean, I guess that's okay, that's fun, but I thought, is this the Deadites? Is this the Book of the Dead? Which was kind of a fun way of opening up the story, where this big hole opens up in the ground in the parking garage where the oldest brother, after the earthquake goes down, he says, there's shit down here. He goes down there with his phone light. I do like his use of like the flashlight on the phone. 2023, and he goes down there, he finds a bunch of shit. It's like supposed to be like the basement of like an old bank bunker. That was like the legend that this apartment complex was built on. And he finds the Book of the Dead in a vinyl record, and he goes upstairs, takes it up there, and he spins the motherfucking record. And this gives the voice of the dead, the chant that we heard like in the original 2, 3 Evil Deads. I don't remember if it was in the third. Yeah, Vasma, Rate, whatever. He hears the chant. He goes to stop the record. He can't stop it. And it pretty much sends the Deadites, the powers and whatnot, to possess somebody, which ends up being the mother who's going downstairs with some laundry, attacks her in the elevator in a pretty wild scene. Actually, I love the cords coming down like from the elevator, choking her and whatnot. Kind of reminds me of the Vine scene in the original, so I like that callback. A lot of callbacks in this movie, by the way, but that's pretty much the plot, the way it got set up. I know I'm ranting and rambling, but yeah, this is where we start. And the mom gets possessed and becomes a Deadite and whatnot. And then survival. That's pretty much the rest of the movie. But with that being said, I like the setup with this. I heard a lot of people bitching and complaining about this movie, like the opening act. Like, to be honest, when I threw this movie right on, I work second shift, so it was literally like 4 a.m. I was like, do I have enough attention span to throw a movie on right now? And I thought, fuck it, I want to watch this movie. I'll let them catch me in the first 10, 15 minutes, and if they don't, I'll go to sleep and watch it tomorrow. Which they did. I wouldn't say these characters are the most interesting, but they're not bad at all. I really like all the kids. And I mean, I like everybody in this, honestly. And it had me right off the bat because this drama between the two sisters happens pretty quick within the first 10 minutes. And then they get the Book of the Dead within the first 20, I would say. Which, a fun fact, this would be the third Book of the Dead. I heard a lot of people bitching that it doesn't look like the original Book of the Dead, but Army of Darkness says there's 3 Books of the Dead, so this is the third. The second was seen in 2013, and the first in the originals, even though there was 3 books in Army of Darkness. I digress. So they end up, bringing the spirits in that makes the mom the Deadite, and it, like I said, it's pretty much a survival game from then. And we see a lot of really vicious stuff through this movie. Like when the mom first walks in, she's possessed. She comes in, she's got like these ankles, they're all crooked, and she's walking in all weird, and she starts cracking these eggs and frying eggs on the oven, and there's blood in these eggs, and she's throwing the shells in there and everything, and the kids are freaked out about it, and she turns around. This is when she starts kind of like going into the Deadite, but ends up like, and they're freaked the fuck out. I mean, she ain't levitating or nothing yet. She falls down, throws up everywhere, and the kids are concerned. They take her to her bed, and they think she ends up passing away. Now, something I will say about this, even if there is a criticism from people out there about the characters not being like, the characters being forgettable is what I hear a lot of people say. At the same time, even if they were forgettable, for me, 4 days after Mother's Day when I watched this, to see 3 young kids watch their mother die right in front of them, they think she's dying, and watching her become possessed in the first act alone, at the end of the first act, like, if that doesn't pull you in a little bit, I mean, what more do you want? Like, I mean, we all want good characters, but like that just kind of like gripped me in. It's like, man, that's fucked up. I actually ended up feeling really bad for these kids, which I should say, this movie is actually really dark. Like, there's a lot of fun elements of comedy, like in the very beginning, like 10, 20 minutes. But I put that in any movie, man. You could have a thriller, a drama, a horror, a comedy. There's always going to be, I mean, maybe not comedy, the whole shit's funny, but like any other movie, there should be elements of comedy, at least in the first like 10, 15, 20 minutes, because that's how we talk as people, as friends, family. We joke around and have fun, right? So, but besides that, this movie was really dark. And this mom goes after these kids, and the sister, who ends up becoming kind of the hero and all. I'll just say right off the bat, I did enjoy this movie, man. I said it from the beginning. I apologize. This review is going to be all over the place. But anyways, we get introduced to a couple other neighbors and everything. And this is when the mother's like dead in the bed, and the sister is kind of like checking on her. They have a couple of the neighbors over, and they also can't get out of this apartment complex. The stairs are bashed down from the earthquake. The elevator is out of service, and they're pretty much saying their final prayers for the sister. And then she comes back to life as a Deadite, and all hell breaks loose, man. And I will say, I absolutely loved the performance from this mother when she was a human and when she became a Deadite. This is one of the best Deadites I've seen in a long time. I would have liked a little more vulgar Deadite language, though there was a lot of good lines. You know, you fucking cunt and all that shit. Man, I'm fucked for laughing at that. But yeah, this movie gets pretty twisted. And I mean, I don't want to skip on the plot. Pretty much a lot of crazy shit goes down with a lot of fights and stuff. They end up locking the mom out in the hallway, and this is where we get a lot of the peek hole scenes you see from the trailers. And then the second act is more like a lot of dialogue with like the kids and the sister kind of like consoling each other back with like the mom, the slow point, like in any movie, like the bookmarks right in the middle, and we pick up at the end with a lot of kills and everything to the crazy final act that we always want in an Evil Dead movie. So because I want to get into like little parts of this movie, but I don't want to skip over the whole plot, and I also don't want to explain the whole goddamn thing. But if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So I would say, going into this movie, I was really concerned with them having kids, which is true to an extent. Because I think if there's kids, the first time ever having kids in the Evil Dead movie, I feel like I heard some people say the stakes are higher because there's kids in it, but I disagree. Because it's not every day you kill kids in a movie. So I think like, oh, nothing's going to happen. But that's wrong. At one point, when the mom that's a Deadite is fighting the sister, the middle child fights back, and she gets like a tattoo needle because the mom is a tattoo artist. She kind of like rips into her skin and rips into the daughter, and she's like nursing her wound the whole time, and that ends up turning her into a Deadite. And this is one flaw too. I would say, if blood being transferred is what turns you into a Deadite, how come nobody else turns into a Deadite with all the gallons and gallons of blood in all these movies? But then that's when I got to remind myself about what's actually happening in the movie itself. like, hey man, don't be too critical about that when you're watching a fucking Deadite zombie person fly in the air and all this crazy shit. You got to just let it go and have fun. And I also think that's a big reason a lot of people are being pretentious about this film. Like what you like, dislike what you like, but I think there's this stranglehold on classic horror movies from the 80s franchises where, like, if one you think is bad, you're defensive of it. And I understand that. That's a big reason I don't like Halloween Ends. But at the same time, you got to kind of find a way to create something new. If you think about it, this is the 5th movie in the Evil Dead franchise. 1 and 2 and 4 were the exact same movie. Part 2 was pretty much Part 1 exactly, with a bigger budget. In 2013, Part 4 was just a remake. So if anything, they've all been exactly the fucking same. Besides Army of Darkness. So it's like, what do you want them to do? Go back to the cabin and do the same exact goddamn thing again? Or do you want something new? Oh, you want something new? Army of Darkness is completely fucking different. Granted, it's still directed by Sam Raimi. But it's like, it's a weird niche with this franchise, and for people griping about it on top of that, it's like, look at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Almost all the fucking movies suck ass. Like, the only good ones are 1 and 2, the remake, and some people like the beginning. It's okay. So it's like, when you look at Evil Dead, this is obviously number 5, at least in my rankings. But this is a franchise that never put out a bad movie. So in that sense, I loved Evil Dead Rise. I would have liked it to be more of like a Demons 2, but I would like more people in the building and everything. That was the idea a lot of people had. But at the same time, there's not normally a lot of victims in these Evil Dead movies. It's whoever the fuck is in the cabin, and they pretty much just put them in an apartment. Not what you would think of like more people, more places to run, but like with the earthquake and whatnot, and them trapped in this apartment, it's kind of the same setting as the cabin. They're locked in there, but like for a newer generation, they do a lot of things to make it kind of fresh and new. I digress. I went off on a rant. That was probably what I should have said at the end. But anyways, back to the movie. The middle teen turns into a Deadite. That's something I really fucking liked. The mother was the best, but I think that the middle kid had the best lines. Like, she said some really fucking creepy ass shit. And when she started turning, she had all this sludge coming out of her ears, eyes, nose, every hole in her face and shit. She started throwing up maggots. This shit was fucking nasty. And when the sister comes in and finds her, she's standing up on the counter for one. And I'm not into like these Conjuring and Sinister movies. Anybody that wonders, I pretty much don't watch anything after the mid 2000s. But she was sitting up on this cupboard with her head like kinked, and it was creepy. That shit creeped me the fuck out. This is a scary movie. I don't want to sound pretentious now by saying I'm not scared of horror movies, because I'm not. I'm a grown ass man. I know this isn't real, but there's some shit this shit was spooky. This shit would scare the fuck out of you. This is a creepy ass movie. And she's chewing this glass. You see the glass going down her throat. She says, I'm eating glass. I don't like bugs in my stomach and shit. It's fucked up, and people are getting stabbed. There's blood everywhere. There's a nasty scene where the sister's crawling away and gets a cheese grater to the calf. I heard a lot of people gripe that, it wasn't gory enough. I go, I don't know. That made me cringe. That looked like it fucking hurt. The oldest brother, who has a lot of grief this whole fucking movie, that he brought the Book of the Dead up and started all this. You know, he gets one of the most brutal kills. He gets stabbed right through the bicep, fighting off his sister, which I love. Like, they end up killing the sister. They thought the middle sister, they tie her up. He goes, I think she should have been tied up. She's tied up in this big sheet with shit wrapped around her. And there's this really good scene where the youngest sister and the oldest son are walking, like, check on something. Which, by the way, big ass apartment they live in for living in the ghetto. I'd live in the ghetto if I had an apartment that big in a high rise in a good city. But it's like a callback to, like, Exorcist 3 almost, where, like, last second in the cut, this, like, ghost ghoul, like, walks by, and if you don't pay attention, you wouldn't catch it. And it kind of reminds me of, like, when Michael Myers kills the dude with the sheet as a ghost in the original Halloween. That's kind of like the look, and she attacks the brother like that. So I like that visual of it. She fucks him up. She fucking stabs him through the bicep, through the heart, pukes blood all over his fucking face. It's pretty gnarly stuff. Yeah, I really like this. I bitch a little bit about, like, how when they locked the mom out, it was just one padlock and, like, a chest or drawer against it, because, like, there's other times where Deadites are way stronger than that. You know, the one in the cellar needed chains and locks and all that. But I digress. Like I said, I'm trying not to be too cynical about this film. And on top of that, like, I loved a lot of these camera angles, which was like a throwback to, the originals, how they were shot. There was, like, some pretty good shots with, like, this, like, rear view, like, mirror, like, one reflection on, like, a knife at one point. There's some I'm going to forget, but the main one was, like, the doorbell, like, the peek hole, which is pretty much a shot on a fisheye lens. And I really like that, but a huge gripe of mine. 3 of the kills, 4 technically, I guess 2 are only through the peek hole, but the majority of the kills are through, like, the people looking out this peek hole. And I appreciate the idea of it, but if we're going to have a lack of kills in a movie, I don't want to see them through a fucking peek hole. Like, I get it, less is more. Tony Montana with the chainsaw in that scene, Psycho with a knife. It's the shit you don't see where you can use your imagination more. That's a part of horror. That's a staple of horror. But I just wish I could have seen that more. Like, one guy liked the neighbor. He had a pretty decent kill, getting his eye bit out. You know, I wish that guy could have maybe lasted a little longer, which leads into my least favorite fucking kill. I bit out, which, by the way, the sound of the eye getting bit was Bruce Campbell in England biting on an apple in the studio is the sound they used. So that's one of his 2 cameos. But when the mom eats the eye, she spits it out, and it flies perfectly into this teenager's mouth, and he chokes on the eyeball. And that's it. He dies. Lamest kill of the fucking movie. But anyways, yeah, we get to the final act, which I really like. The littlest girl and the sister go taking off. Everybody's dead in the hallway. All these Deadites. Well, they all start coming back. Everyone starts becoming, resurrected and everything. And they fight off the mom. Shotgun blast. Boom. I love in horror movies, everybody knows how to use a shotgun. But shoots off the leg, shoots off the arm, and everyone comes alive. Now, this is a mixed opinion I've heard from a lot of people, like, Dead by Dawn, the chant. It's like, I get it. It's one of my biggest gripes of Halloween Kills, like Evil Dies Tonight. The chants are corny, but this one didn't necessarily bother me. They end up getting in the elevator. They're trying to get out, and it's becoming a close call. And I love this. They're getting the elevator's getting filled with blood, and they're about to drown in all the blood. And at the same time, which is another big gripe, this final monster, all the Deadites, which I thought was just the 2 siblings and the mom, all become, like, intertwined in this big, like, body horror, fucking From the Beyond kind of, like, monster, this big spider thing, which it shows the Book of the Dead, the final page is like, they become this entity, which is cool. I get it. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked the final monster. I just didn't like how they used it, I guess. But back to the elevator. This might be my favorite scene in the movie, where, like, they're about to drown in the blood, and the Deadites are coming after them through the vents and all this. But then it shows the weight limit on the elevator, and there's too much weight in the blood, and the whole elevator comes down and opens up. Fan service, little homage to The Shining, which I really like, the blood flowing out of the elevator. And this is where we got our 2 final girls, I guess, 2 final girls covered in blood. And kudos to them, especially the little girl. Like, think of the shooting, like, just covered in fucking blood. And they're trying to get away in this parking garage. And this might be my least favorite scene when this monster comes after him. It's literally meant to be, like, suspenseful. But just like, the monster's on one side of the car, and they get to the other side, and they sneak around to the back, and then the monster sneaks around the front. Come on, man. What the fuck, you little kid? You know what the fucking, where someone's going? Any other horror movie, you can hear their footsteps. That's why Jurassic Park, they're jingling shit one way and run the other way. That's how the fuck it's done. You know what I mean? That's how you do it in movies. So that was kind of fucking stupid. We get to a final deal where it's kind of a back and forth with the little kid's in risk. The sister saves her. The sister's in risk. The little girl saves her. And we ultimately get to like this chip grinder, like in Halloween Ends. They after Evil died, they threw his bitch ass in there. Should have threw Corey Covington's bitch ass in there too. Is that his name? But god damn it. This was pretty cool in kind of the grinder. Something I said earlier in the movie when I was watching, I said it out loud to myself, decapitation. You gotta fucking take their head off. That's how you do it, man. And we get left with like the mom's head is the last bit off of this entity that gets thrown in. And I did like that. She looks right at her and like, I don't remember what she said. She says something to her sister, and she goes, only my sister tells me that. Kicks the head in that bitch. The prop head, boom. Blood everywhere. I loved it, man. And I will say, you could tell where there's CGI in this movie. But there was a lot of good practical effects. I can do a CGI when it's done right. I can do it especially when it's mixed with good practical effects. Like, if you don't have to do it CGI, why do it CGI? And I thought, though some of the CGI shit was a little obvious to me, I'll let it slide. It was good. Yeah, that's pretty much the movie. There was a really cool opening credit scene. Good title card. The kind of like, it said like it was a day after this happened, so like a day earlier, and then we get a call back to that as the final scene, which is kind of fun. But anyways, I've been going for 22 minutes now, so I got to wrap this up. Anyways, like I said, I'm glad I waited a day to review this, or 3 days, 4 days, who's counting? Because I had to kind of sit on this. I heard a lot of people say a lot of things, good and bad. Something that sticks with me is, I think my boy Hayden said, like, it didn't feel like an Evil Dead movie. And I can see that, but that goes back to my argument about, like, are we going to go back to the cabin again? It didn't have that full Evil Dead feeling, but you could tell it was a passion project. Like, it didn't follow the tropes of, like, these 2010s kind of, like, spooky demon movies that they were doing, The Conjuring and Insidious and all that, or whatever. I thought this was pretty fucking good, you guys. Like I said, I rank it number 5 out of 5 in my Evil Dead rankings, but not to say it's bad. It's just based on how good all the other movies are. There's not a bad movie in this entire franchise. You know, every other horror franchise has a bunch of shitty movies in it. Besides, like, the original Paramount 8 from Friday the 13th, or the first 5 Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, that's the most consistent we've had. And then it goes to shit. But, like, for 5 here, this was good. I would say my rankings would be 2, 3, 1, 4, 5. I really like this movie. Sure, there's times where it didn't feel like an Evil Dead movie, but there was enough fan service where I didn't think they overdid it. And I'm accepting enough of, like, trying something new, because, like, though it was something new, I don't know. It just still had a feeling to it. Like, at least to me, the right kind of vibe. Like, I go into all these remakes, like, trying not to be, like, pretentious about it. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like, the fact that I had to wait a couple days and I kept giving it thought, and the fact that I don't even know, like, what to say about it fully right now, and I went this long talking about it and thinking about it, shows me it's a good fucking movie overall, regardless of franchise. And could it have been a little more Evil Dead-y, I guess, but what the fuck is that? When, like I said, the third one, they're in fucking medieval times. I liked it. I think the biggest thing with people that didn't like this film, which if you don't, that's fine, but I think they've put up such a high standard, it's hard to really give this one your whole hoorah. But overall, if this didn't have the Evil Dead label on it, everyone would be praising it even more. I praise it anyways. I openly welcome this into the Evil Dead franchise. Not that I have a fucking choice. I'm no gatekeeper. I'm not Ash Williams. Welcome to S-Mart. But I really enjoyed this movie for what it was. It had me on the edge of my seats from the whole time. Like, there were certain times where I was like, oh, well, where do you go from here? You're locked in, da-da-da-da. But I like that in the movie. I had stopped myself watching. I go, well, the fact that you're kind of guessing and thinking, well, where do they go next? That's cool. That's what the fuck I like, man. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It was very entertaining. I heard, like I said, a lot of people said the characters weren't memorable, but I liked them all. They all did a great job. Role players, man. Not everybody's got to be the greatest. Not everybody's got to be Bruce Campbell. Who can? But for what it was, I think they tried something new enough, but still paid enough homage to the originals that it was a success. I love this. I'd like to see them keep doing more. Keep them coming. Let me know what you guys think about this movie yourself. I know I went out. I got to stop. It's 26 minutes. My bad, guys. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this movie. Like, comment, share, all that fun stuff, man. Nasfo Farato Rato Blood Got Score. I'll check you guys next time.